You are listening to the Zenith transmissions, channeled dialogues exploring consciousness, mutation, and the unfolding human story. Transmission 1 begins.
Transmission 10, March 12th, 2024. Beginning to relax even deeper. Settling into your chair, allowing the information to flow easily and effortlessly, becoming a clear channel of information and wisdom. Relax and breathe deep into the belly, placing your awareness at that point between the eyebrows. Drawing the breath in and out the nose, nice and slow, completely relaxed. Whenever you're ready, let's begin. How do we create more balance within the power structures of our government?
How much control one exerts over any area of governance is important as to how we can affect change. Just as the example of the Russian doll's system of authority, when those in authority over you don't limit themselves appropriately, it is then up to the higher or more outer layers of their control system to come in and monitor. Ideally, in your democracy, this happens in a series of checks and balances. However, it is unfortunate that those who keep such layers in check are also influenced by external limiting factors, such as support, power, and money. In systems where imbalance has become apparent, the only way to regulate this is to begin on the level of each individual, regulating and balancing themselves. This is the way we look at human consciousness as a whole. When individuals change from the inside, the entire whole is lifted.
Who is at the highest level of control on this planet?
There are two forces, as with all things. There is the highest level of control in the shadow, and there is the highest level of control in the cities, to use terminology that might make sense as far as your studies. Neither are human forms of control.
What are they?
They are the highest and lowest projections of our overlayer consciousness. If you would like to view the Earth, as some like to look at it, as a hologram, we have oftentimes controlled our holographic self coming from the upper realms or the underworld. These are all relative terms, but these are our concepts of heaven and hell. These are depicted sometimes as the angel or the devil sitting on the shoulders of the being. So there are two most powerful forces in control running our universe at all times. But we forget that they are inside of ourselves. And by inside, we do not refer to a locational place, but instead a sphere of influence we are all connected to, just as if connected to Bluetooth. Are you connecting with the upper realms or underworld as you move throughout your life? Are those in power and whose holograms are more influential or bright being connected to the higher registers or the baser forms of influence? These are the ruling forms of control on our planet at all times.
Is there a shadow government operating world control?
Describe to me what you mean by shadow government. Do you mean those in government operating from their shadow, or is this a terminology to describe a form of government in secrecy?
A secret government of people who are unelected.
There will always be many who are influencing the main players on the stage. Just as in a production, you would have producers, directors, stagehands, costume design, and so on. This is the stage of your human government. The actor is the vehicle of delivery as much as your governmental leaders are. The ones who are writing the script are rarely those who the world perceives.
Who are these people?
It is a consciousness embedded into the fabric of our universe's laws, the law of self-balancing.
Can you explain the law of self-balancing?
The law of self-balancing is a running consciousness that is always bringing the forces that are at work in the world into balance, by bringing both opposition and support to any major movement. This is similar to bipartisan organizations or the natural swing that we see of the world moving back and forth between political parties, leaders, etc. This is a natural system of balancing, in the same way that nature balances herself, and also that humans and animals regulate power and influence.
Can you explain the law of attraction?
Think about the particles of an atom. The channel feels ill-equipped to translate this analogy, but we'll try. With positive and negative charges, there is a natural balancing and draw together, but these must be a match in frequency that they resonate within. So, for example, when 2 points sit within a stream of resonance, to follow the law of attraction, they must inhabit that same stream, traveling in the same direction, vibrating at the same rate of consciousness. However, like attracts like is not entirely the full picture, which is what frustrates those who are practicing law of attraction, for you also have the principle which you hear of often called opposites attract. It is both and. It is as if you are in different layers of a video game, and only those players within the same layer can interact, while there are players that move in the background or the foreground that may not be interacted with. You can attract those in like frequency and like resonance of energy, but within that layer of interaction field, you are drawn to the opposite expression of energy as your own, so as to balance and create that yin-yang system of harmony. So the law of attraction is both like draws in like, and one form draws in its opposite expression of form. This could be symbolized in part by the color red. Both are vibrating at the light frequency that we will call red, but within this rainbow spectrum of light, there is a tone and a shade. Tone adds white, while shade adds black. So the more opposite shades and tones balance each other when paired together, bringing a centered expression of pure red light.
How would you explain the law of allowing?
To allow is to be in yin or receptive energy, which can remove resistance to flow. To allow is to work with the energy of being a vessel. To be a vessel is to hold within your defined form something that is without form. So by allowing, there isn't an absence of shape, but an absence of control of substance or material within form. This means, as a container has different materials poured into it, the result will change depending whether it is filled with sand, water, oil, or earth. But to resist rather than allow would be to cap the vessel in a way that would cause resistance at the entrance or within. When we accept or allow circumstances to be poured through us, we will hold their shape in a way that is true to our being. We will not tightly resist or block circumstances from our path because we cannot fit them inside of us. What is not resonant with our being will not find a home there.
Please explain the law of deliberate creation.
Deliberate creation would be the opposite energetic expression of the allowance we just spoke of. Deliberate creation is yang energy and is a focused point of form. This would be to set out and redirect energy into the form of choice. So rather than allow the water to flow over the rocks and over time carve out its path through and around them, deliberate creation would be directing the flow exactly where one is intending to create indention or erosion, where through conscious thought one is shaping thought into form, instead of form shaping thought through allowance.
How can we develop our telepathic abilities?
Speak less, feel more.
Anything else?
Notice how thought forms feel. You can notice this with different people. They express differently and have different energetic signatures. By noticing these patterns, you will begin to hear their unique language.
How do we get better sleep?
Expect better sleep. It sounds simple, but most things are. Simple, but not easy. When we fall asleep expecting that it won't be good quality because there aren't many hours left, or we have aches or pains, or we've been dreaming a lot lately, then these energy or thought forms play out. But when we set ourselves for a good night of sleep and have the expectation that this is what we will receive because we are creating the ideal environment and the body state for rest, our expectation can then be met.
These transmissions are for the future human, for the ones who feel the shift, who sense the children are different, who know the old paradigms can't hold what's coming.
This concludes today's transmission. Let what you've heard settle softly. The next begins when you are ready.